Could a single act of fire, orchestrated by one man and executed with unwavering conviction, erase the entire written memory of a civilization that had thrived for millennia? This chilling question hangs over the scorched earth of Yucatan, where, on a fateful summer day in the year 1562, thousands upon thousands of precious books, painstakingly crafted and meticulously inscribed, were consumed by flames in the town of Mani. What unquantifiable wealth of knowledge, of history, of prophecy and wisdom was reduced to ash and smoke that day, vanishing from the world as swiftly as breath on a cold morning? For the Quiché Maya, the act of writing, tz'ib, was more than mere inscription. It was a sacred art, a direct channel to the divine, guided by the benevolent hand of Itzamna, the creator god, patron of wisdom, and the inventor of writing itself. To be an tz'ib, a scribe, was to occupy a position of immense prestige and spiritual authority, often overlapping with the roles of priest, goadse, akin, astronomer, diviner, and historian. These were the intellectual architects of their complex civilization, entrusted with recording the movements of celestial bodies, the genealogies of kings, the intricate rituals necessary to maintain cosmic balance, and the prophecies that charted the cycles of time. Their training began in childhood, a rigorous apprenticeship that immersed them in the arcane beauty of the glyphs, teaching them not only to form the intricate signs but to understand the profound semantic and phonetic layers that gave Mayan script its unique power. Each glyph was a universe in miniature, a syllable, a concept, an image, interwoven with others to form narratives of unparalleled sophistication. The physical embodiment of this vast intellectual legacy were the codices, known to the Maya as Amatal or Hun. Unlike the clay tablets of Mesopotamia or the papyrus rolls of Egypt, these were books in a strikingly modern sense, fashioned from the inner bark of the wild fig tree Ficus cotinifolia, specifically prepared to create a smooth, durable paper. Strips of this processed bark, sometimes measuring up to several meters in length, were coated with a fine layer of plaster like gesso, then folded accordion-style into panels, typically 10 to 12 centimeters high and 20 to 25 centimeters wide. The ends were often secured with wooden boards, creating a robust volume that could withstand centuries. Imagine these pages, not stark white, but a warm, creamy off-white, offering the perfect canvas for the scribe's vibrant palette at. Pigments were derived from the earth itself and from ingenious processes. Cochineal insects yielded brilliant reds, indigo plants provided deep blues, and minerals like hematite produced ochres and yellows. Each stroke of the brush, often made from animal hair or fine reeds, was a deliberate act of creation, rendering glyphs with precise outlines and filling them with rich, symbolic colors. The effect was astonishing, a visual feast that conveyed information not just through text, but through intricate iconography, marrying art and literature seamlessly. What secrets did these ancient hard drives hold? They were encyclopedic in scope, encompassing every aspect of Mayan life and belief. They contained elaborate astronomical tables, meticulously tracking the cycles of Venus, Mars, and the Moon, enabling predictions of eclipses and the precise timing of agricultural activities. They were almanacs for divination, guiding priests on auspicious days for marriages, battles, or corn planting. They preserved the dynastic histories of city-states, tracing royal lineages back to mythical ancestors and legitimizing the current rulers through divine right. Ritual texts detailed the proper offerings to the gods, the complex ceremonies of bloodletting and sacrifice, and the prayers that linked humanity to the cosmos. Scholars today estimate that some codices likely functioned as practical guides for administrators, documenting tribute payments, trade routes, and perhaps even detailed medical knowledge or botanical classifications. These were not merely religious texts in a narrow sense, but comprehensive repositories of scientific observation, historical memory, and theological doctrine, providing the intellectual infrastructure for a sprawling, sophisticated civilization. Their purpose was multifaceted: to record sacred knowledge for posterity, to legitimize the ruling elite, to predict the future cycles of time, to guide religious and political rituals, and to manage the complex resources of their society. They were, in essence, the operating system of the Mayan world, vital for its function and continuation. Then came the new gods, born on ships of the sea, clad in metal and armed with fire and an unshakable belief in a single truth. The Spanish conquerors, particularly the zealous Franciscan friars who followed in their wake, viewed the intricate Mayan glyphs and the elaborate ceremonies they described as the abominable works of the devil. To men like Fray Diego de Landa, charged with the spiritual conquest of Yucatan, the codices were not records of an ancient complex faith, but instruments of idolatry, tools of demonic deception that kept the indigenous people shackled in spiritual darkness. He saw a land steeped in what he perceived as barbaric rituals, including human sacrifice, a practice that horrified and infuriated the Europeans. To him, the path to salvation for the Maya lay in the total eradication of their former beliefs and the complete adoption of Christianity. This zealous conviction, coupled with a deep-seated fear of native rebellion and the suspicion that the Maya were merely feigning conversion while secretly clinging to their old ways, set the stage for one of history's most devastating acts of cultural destruction. It was on the 12th day of July, in the year 1562, in the Plaza of Mani, a town that had once been a powerful Mayan center, that Fray Diego de Landa ordered the infamous auto de fe. In front of a vast crowd of terrified and bewildered Maya, including many Atzib who watched their life's work and their ancestral wisdom piled high, the friars set fire to mountains of codices. Imagine the scene: the dry paper, the gesso, the tree bark, catching fire with surprising speed, sending up plumes of acrid smoke that mingled with the humid Yucatan air. The vibrant reds, blues, and yellows, carefully painted by generations of scribes, curled and blackened, transforming into nothing but brittle ash. The sounds of crackling flames would have been punctuated by the muffled sobs of the elders, the silent horror in the eyes of the young, and perhaps the fervent incantations of the friars, convinced they were purifying the land. Alongside the codices, 27 stone effigies of Mayan deities and 5,000 idols were also shattered and burned, ensuring a thorough cleansing of what the Spanish deemed abominable. Landa himself, years later, would recount this event with a chilling lack of remorse in his Relación de las Cosas de Yucatán, stating, "We found a large number of these books in these characters, and as they contained nothing in which there was not superstition and lies of the devil, we burned them all, which they regretted to an amazing degree and which caused them much affliction." His words betray a profound misunderstanding, a cultural blindness that prioritized evangelical fervor over the preservation of human knowledge. The immediate consequences of this mass incineration were catastrophic, extending far beyond the physical loss of written works. It was a cultural lobotomy, a deliberate severing of the Mayan people from their own past, their identity, and their intellectual framework. The intricate calendrical systems, so vital for agricultural planning, and the timing of religious festivals were thrown into disarray. The historical narratives that legitimized rulers and provided a sense of continuity were obliterated, leaving a void where once proud genealogies stood. The Atzib, the intellectual elite, found their life's purpose undermined, their sacred craft branded as heresy. Generations of accumulated astronomical observations, medical knowledge, and divinatory practices simply vanished, transforming a vibrant, literate civilization into one perceived by the conquerors as primitive and ignorant. The act was meant to facilitate conversion, but it achieved something more profound and devastating. It crippled the spiritual and intellectual heart of an entire society, making it infinitely harder for them to resist the cultural assimilation imposed by the newcomers. The smoke from Mani was not just the burning of books. It was the immolation of memory, the systematic dismantling of a people's right to define themselves through their own recorded history. Yet even as the ashes cooled and the silence of loss settled over Yucatan, the question lingered. Could such a profound and deeply ingrained body of knowledge truly be erased forever? Was everything truly gone, or did some fragments, some echoes of the lost codices, somehow endure, awaiting a future decipherment, a rediscovery of the deleted but not gone? Despite the devastating fires that consumed thousands of Mayan codices, scattering centuries of accumulated wisdom into the winds of Yucatan. A persistent and almost miraculous whisper of their existence endured. How could this be, when such zealous efforts had been made to eradicate every trace of their idolatrous content? The answer lies in a combination of desperate acts of preservation, the vastness of the Mayan world, the slow, often haphazard pace of conquest, and, ironically, in the very nature of human memory and adaptation. While Landa's auto de fe was a colossal blow, it was not the sole singular event of destruction across every Mayan territory, nor did it catch every last document. Some codices, perhaps only a handful, were hidden away in the deepest recesses of temples, buried beneath the floors of homes, or simply taken by individuals who risked their lives to protect these sacred objects from the Spanish friars. These were not acts of defiance driven by grand strategy, but quiet individual acts of desperate hope, driven by a profound understanding of the codice's irreplaceable value. Of the thousands believed to have existed, only 4 indisputably pre-Columbian Mayan codices are known to have survived to the modern era: the Dresden Codex, the Madrid Codex, also known as the Trocortesianos Codex, the Paris Codex, or Peresianos Codex, and the much-debated Grolier Codex. Each of these precious relics has its own speculative, often mysterious journey through time. The Dresden Codex, a masterpiece of Mayan art and science, somehow found its way to Europe and was acquired by the Royal Library of Dresden in the early 18th century. One version suggests it was an item of curiosity sent back by a conquistador or an early missionary, perhaps unaware of its true significance, or even smuggled out by a Maya who found passage on a returning ship. The Madrid Codex, similarly, appeared in Europe much later, separated into 2 parts before being reunited. Its path is even more obscure, perhaps passed down through generations of Maya who guarded it, eventually trading it or losing it to European hands. The Paris Codex, a fragmentary but invaluable document, was discovered in a dusty chimney in the Bibliothèque Nationale in Paris in the mid-19th century, a testament to how randomly historical treasures can resurface. As for the Grolier Codex, found in a cave in Chiapas, Mexico in the 1960s, its authenticity was long debated, but modern scientific analysis strongly suggests it is indeed a pre-Columbian document, possibly hidden for centuries. These few survivors are like ghost ships drifting through time, carrying the remnants of a vanished intellectual fleet. The Dresden Codex, in particular, offers a window into the extraordinary scientific acumen of the Mayan scribes. It is not a historical narrative in the Western sense, but a complex astronomical almanac and divinatory guide. Imagine the patience and precision required to create its pages, covered with tables that meticulously track the 87-day cycle of eclipses, allowing the Maya to predict these celestial events with astonishing accuracy. Most strikingly, it contains the famous Venus Table, a calendrical marvel that details the 584-day cycle of the planet Venus as both morning and evening star. The Maya understood that this cycle, repeating over and over, had profound implications for warfare, agriculture, and ritual. For them, Venus was not just a distant light, it was a powerful deity, its movements dictating the ebb and flow of cosmic energy. The Codex guided the Akin in determining auspicious days for raiding enemy cities, for enthroning rulers, or for performing crucial ceremonies, all based on the celestial dance of Venus. These were not idle superstitions, but the rigorous application of empirical observation, honed over centuries and recorded with exquisite detail, demonstrating a level of astronomical sophistication unmatched by any other civilization in the Americas. But what of the knowledge that didn't survive in the physical form of a codex? The resilience of Mayan culture meant that much of the oral tradition and the memory of the lost texts were not entirely extinguished. In the centuries following the conquest, a new form of writing emerged, born of necessity and adaptation. Mayan scribes, now taught the Latin alphabet by the very friars who had burned their ancestral books, began to transcribe fragments of their ancient lore, histories, and prophecies into Spanish script, often embedding them with Christian elements to camouflage their true origins. These are the books of Chilambalam, a collection of post-conquest manuscripts from different towns in Yucatan, such as Chumayel, Mani, and Tizimin. They are a poignant testament to the deleted but not gone concept, acting as a desperate, fragmented attempt to re-image the lost hard drives. Imagine a Mayan elder, perhaps an Atz'ib who witnessed the fires of Mani as a child, dictating to a younger scribe, struggling to recall the precise wording of a prophecy or the exact sequence of a ritual, filtering it through the imposed language and religious framework of the conquerors. These books blend Mayan cosmology with Christian symbolism, astronomical observations with biblical narratives, creating a unique hybrid literature that offers tantalizing glimpses into the pre-Columbian worldview, even as they reflect the trauma of conquest. They are not direct copies of the codices, but rather echoes, memory fragments, and reinterpretations, a testament to the power of cultural memory in the face of erasure. The decipherment of Mayan glyphs, a painstaking process spanning nearly 2 centuries, further illustrates the deleted but not gone theme, as it represents a monumental effort to recover lost knowledge from shattered fragments. For generations, scholars, many of whom believed Mayan writing to be purely ideographic, each symbol representing an idea, struggled to unlock its secrets. Sir Eric Thompson, a towering figure in Mayan studies for decades, vehemently argued against any phonetic components, hindering progress for a time. However, a brilliant Soviet linguist named Yuri Knorozov, working in isolation during the 1950s, revolutionized the field by proposing that Mayan script was logosyllabic, a combination of logograms, whole words or concepts, and syllabic signs. This breakthrough, initially met with skepticism by the established Western academic community, eventually proved correct. Imagine the sheer intellectual tenacity required to piece together such a complex system from a few surviving codices, scattered inscriptions on monuments, and the often misleading alphabet provided by Landa himself. It was like trying to reconstruct a vast library from a few burned pages and a flawed dictionary, a puzzle that demanded the dedication of generations. Even with the triumph of decipherment, much remains lost, creating frustrating silences in the historical record. The surviving codices focus heavily on astronomy and divination, offering relatively few insights into Mayan dynastic history, political events, or the lives of common people. The burning of the historical codices, those that chronicled the reigns of kings and the outcomes of wars, means that many narratives are forever incomplete. Imagine having only a fraction of a computer's files, missing the core documents that tie everything together. We can read the glyphs, understand the calendrical cycles, and even reconstruct some rituals, but the rich tapestry of daily life, the full scope of their political intrigues, and the nuanced stories of their countless cities remain largely obscured, whispered to us only by the stones of their temples and the scattered pottery shards unearthed by archaeologists. The missing context, the thousands of destroyed data files, means that our understanding, while profound, is inherently partial. Paradoxically, Fray Diego de Landa, the orchestrator of the infamous Auto de Fe, also became an unwitting key to decipherment. His Relación de las Cosas de Yucatán, written years after the destruction he wrought, was an attempt to describe the customs, history, and beliefs of the Maya people he had labored to convert. In it, he included what he believed to be a Mayan alphabet, asking a native informant to provide glyphs for Spanish letters. The informant, however, likely misunderstood, giving him syllabic glyphs for the sounds of the Spanish letters rather than single-letter equivalents. This flawed alphabet became a source of confusion for centuries, yet it contained crucial phonetic clues that Knorozov later used to break the code. It is a bitter irony that the man who destroyed so much also provided one of the most vital, albeit imperfect, keys to unlocking the secrets of what he sought to erase. His record, intended to justify his actions and describe a conquered people, inadvertently preserved fragments of the very culture he had so vigorously suppressed, offering tantalizing hints about the deleted information. Today, the ongoing effort to understand the Maya is a multidisciplinary symphony where epigraphers study the glyphs on stelae and architectural friezes, archaeologists excavate ancient cities, and ethnohistorians analyze the Chilambalam texts and other colonial documents. Digital imaging techniques are now used to study the delicate surviving codices, revealing previously unseen details and helping to preserve them for future generations. It is a monumental undertaking, a collective endeavor to reconstruct the intellectual landscape of a civilization from fragments, shadows, and echoes. The fires of Mani left an enduring scar on human history, a stark reminder of the fragility of knowledge and the devastating power of cultural intolerance. Yet, the very fact that we continue to unearth, decipher, and interpret these scattered remains, the few surviving codices, the inscriptions on stone, the oral traditions captured in later texts, is a testament to the enduring power of human intellect and the profound resilience of cultural memory.